Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
All right.
Anything happened yesterday, Steve, in sports?
Well, I was in Chicago, so I did basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that later in the show.
I believe the Waste Management Open happened, I think.
Yes, it
Biggest
did.
sports news in the world.
Yeah. The fans were.
Yeah. Extra 20,000 fans than they expected is insane.
Yeah, but the unruly behavior is something we'll get to in a little bit as well. Because, I'm all for people being into it.
Yeah.
But there's, like in anything in life, you can't cross lines, right?
They crossed every line they could.
Right. Now we see that in our staff meetings all the time, but that's a different story. All right. So let's start with, obviously, the Super Bowl. There are very few athletes where I would specifically pay to buy a ticket to see them play. I mean, in my lifetime, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux. I mean, I saw Gretzky play live. I saw Larry Bird play live. I would have paid to see Magic. I saw Jordan play live. I'd pay to see LeBron. I'd pay to see Steph Curry. My goodness, yes. Another phenomenal finish the other night. And in football, I would pay to see Patrick Mahomes play. In my lifetime, I know Brady's won 7 Super Bowls. I saw John Unitas play. Bart Starr, all the way through. I've seen them all go through. This might be the best. I mean, in terms of entertainment value, he's the most entertaining quarterback I can see with a skill set others don't have. That said, the 49ers coaching staff, no offense, I don't get it.
Are you you're talking about the overtime rules or in general? Okay.
I'm talking about everything. The first half, I thought the Niners coaching staff could not have coached the game any better.
That defense was smothering. It was a dominant display. Again, the Chiefs went pretty much the entire first half without points until Butker made the field goal. They, of course, had the Checo fumble down towards the red zone, which would have been points, but the 49ers were dominant.
Well, more than that, they owned the line of scrimmage. Okay. And at halftime, they're winning the game. Now, you expect Kansas City's going to make some adjustments.
Of course.
And then you get to the third quarter, right? And in the third quarter of the game, okay, they get an interception. Kansas City gets the ball first. Jair gets the interception. I was so thrilled for Tig. It was unreal.
He just was in the right place, right time, did exactly what he had to do, picked the ball off, and he looked so happy. He looked really happy, which made me smile.
Okay. So what do? Pass incomplete. False start. Pass incomplete. Right? Scrambles, so it's a pass play for 4 yards. Okay. Next possession. Short pass to Jennings, -8. Leo Chanel of Wisconsin made a really good play. Pass left to McCaffrey, 7 yards. Incomplete pass to George Kittle. Punt. Oh, I'm not that. This is the third quarter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for you, but we'll get to that after you go through the series of plays here.
Okay. So the first 6 plays of the second half, they don't run the ball one time.
And, Steve, I have a question for you. Do you know who the leading rusher in the NFL this season was?
Christian McCaffrey.
It's Christian McCaffrey.
All right.
And all game, it was very clear. Every time he had a short run for him was 6 yards. It was just dominant. Entire time. Even the second half, when they did finally run the ball, it was like a 6-yard carry. He turned from like a 2. Just dominant the entire way through.
Right. Then the next time they get the ball, McCaffrey, no gain. Pass incomplete. So they've run 9 plays in the third quarter, and they ran the ball one time from a coach who told the CBS broadcast crew in a meeting, I want to run the ball 30 times today. So you come out of halftime and you throw 8 passes and 1 run? Really? You own the line of scrimmage. So what does running the ball do? Well, who's the one person you don't want to see on the field?
Mahomes.
He's watching while you're running.
Mm-hmm.
And the clock is running.
Mm-hmm.
And running.
Mm-hmm.
And running. And you're winning.
Yeah.
And you've been eating up yards with your running game all day. Okay, so that's decision number 1.
Mm-hmm.
The decision's out of the locker room to throw the football. Now, maybe because they got the turnover from Jair, hey, this is a go-for-it moment. Okay, all right, I got it, okay? But the rest of it, no. You're nursing a 10-3 lead, right? You want to eat some clock, get downfield, score some points, right? Shorten the game, keep him off the field. They don't do it. Then the next part is, and this is the part that, to me, coaching-wise, it's not inexcusable, but, boy, it's close. Under the new playoff rules, and I realize it's never happened before, all right? The rules have been in for 3 years now. They've had 28 playoff games. They have not had an overtime game. Each team gets the ball. You do not take the ball to start overtime under these rules.
And it is now come out, of course, that and Eric Armstead of the Niners discussed it, that said he didn't know new playoff overtime rules until they were literally shown on the big screen in Allegiant Stadium. Then he was like, oh, so those are the rules. And it has come out also that Chris Jones and a bunch of Chiefs players have said, yeah, we went over the rules in the preseason and discussed them and did a full walkthrough then and before the Super Bowl in case it happened. And every time we said, we take the ball second and go for 2. Right. Just if we need a touchdown to tie, we go for that and then go for 2 and go to win the game. That is how it works.
If Kansas City had won the toss, they already said they were going to defer.
They knew they're going second.
Right. Well, that doesn't mean now remember, San Francisco can elect to kick off.
That was the only other choice, was that if San Francisco wins, the Chiefs would go first if they deferred. That was the only possibility. They said if they won the toss, they're going second. We're not taking the ball.
I'd have kicked off. Because I want to know what I need to do. And by going second, what does it take off the board?
It takes off
any decision to go for it on 4th down. It's automatic.
Which is what the Chiefs did.
Right. There's no decision there. Now, I'll give Shanahan credit in the first half, when they went for it on 4th down. I thought he might kick a field goal there. I give him all the credit in the world. It was a great call. And they got the first down. I mean, Kittle reached out, but it was a right call, right play call, the whole thing. I give Shanahan a lot of credit on that. Not on this. Okay? You can tell a guy that has never coached a game in college before. So what happens when you have had pro jobs handed to you all the time in your career? I'm not saying he hasn't earned his spot in life, but he started coaching for his dad. Well, he coached in the pros. Dad didn't coach in college. Coached in the pros. And now you get to this scenario. You don't want the ball first. And you have 3 decisions. Everyone thinks it's defer or take the ball. No. You can elect. They win the toss. We elect to kick off. Now, it doesn't matter which way in this stadium you kick because it was indoors. All right? Because now I want to know what I need to do. I want to know what I need to do.
Also, I think something that has not been highlighted enough is the idea of momentum, and that going into overtime, Mahomes was rolling, but your defense has been great all night. Even when the Chiefs have gotten it done, they've gotten it done through a lot of things going their way in terms of just coverages or whatever, and Mahomes just being great. And so you say, I love our defense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to trust in them. They've forced some fumbles. They've caught in it. They've picked off a pass. Mm-hmm. Let's let them go out there, because if the defense turns it over, immediately it's pretty much game over at that point.
Now, I know my defense was just out there in the final minute and 53, right? So I know that, and they gave up a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a gap between the end of the regulation and the start of overtime. There's a gap. So my defensive players are all sitting there during that time as if the other team had the ball anyway.
Mm-hmm. And they've been smothering Mahomes all night. Even during overtime, they were still playing well.
I mean, I thought Nick Bosa played, and Armstead and Bosa both played terrific games. You could tell Bosa was getting tired late in the game because, I mean, that's
you're
a lot.
Out there.
When you're out there chasing the guy all night, you know, and he was. And I thought Tony Romo made a great point about lane integrity.
He just held him where he needed to. It was making Mahomes go east-west, not letting him go north-south. It's perfect.
And Bosa deserves a lot of credit. Armstead was great, and Bosa played a terrific game. In fact, Pro Football Focus gave him a 120, which is a little higher than the usual 100 they give him. I
didn't even say Chase Young had a good game. Randy Gregory played well.
Early did. Yeah.
The defense generally played well, and also I sending our thoughts and prayers to Dre Greenlaw, who apparently tore his Achilles.
That's a bummer.
Tore his Achilles running onto the field following a defense, like a stop.
Yeah,
like
that's awful.
That's ow, and it happened. I think in the first quarter he got hurt. Or it was first or second quarter. It was first half.
I think it was the second quarter.
Yeah, it was the first half. And then, like, the next play, Deebo Samuel hurt his hamstring and pulled it. He came back in. But the fact that was back-to-back was gutsy. Like, you could just tell immediately, uh-oh. And then Feliciano got hurt.
Because the Greenlaw injury opened the door for Travis Kelce to go from 1 catch, 1 yard first half to having 8 catches for nearly 90 yards in the second half.
Because you have, instead of having Werner and Tim, it's Burks.
Burks is now covering him, and that just opened the door. And look, you take advantage of match. How many times have you heard me say matchups? Yeah. You can do all the next gen stats you want. I want matchups. My guy is better than your guy. Your guy's better than my guy. How do I cover it up?
Yeah.
But Shanahan did the same thing in the Falcons game against the Patriots. He did the same thing in the first Super Bowl opportunity as a head coach against the Chiefs. He got away from the running game.
Which, when you're up, makes no sense. You want to run the ball when you're up.
Sense at
like
all.
if you're chasing the game, it makes sense to go in the air.
Right.
But you are up in the game, and you have the best running back in the entire league.
And I'm not saying run it every play, but my goodness, right? Run it on first down, get 5 or 6 yards, put them on their heels. Now the whole playbook's open.
It should be
he came out and called 9 passes. Right? I'm sorry,
9 plays.
He called 8 passes and 1 running play to open the second half.
If you have 9 plays, I want 6 of them to be runs. That's what I want. I want 6 runs, 3 passes.
I'm winning.
Yeah. You're up in the game and you have the best running back in the league. A guy who the entire game was dominating. Like, you gave him the ball. You saw it in the second half when he made that great catch in overtime. He caught the ball in space and then did this like high step and then just gone for like 15 to 30 yards. He was dominating the entire time. He didn't look tired at all.
In the end, they did run the ball 31 times. He said, I want to run it 30. And McCaffrey had 22 carries, but that includes overtime.
Yeah.
All right? And and Purdy was fine. I mean, Purdy played well enough in the game.
But you're throwing the ball
but he hit a slump. Remember, he got off to that hot start.
Yeah.
And what did he do after the hot start? He went 4 for 11.
And part of it,
at this point, I need to run the ball
to kind
of just take a little bit off his plate.
And part of it, like, you're looking at that defense, the Chiefs defense, and I think one of the best parts of their defense, if not the best, is that they have 2 high-level All-Pro guys at corner, Snead and McDuffie. Like, McDuffie broke up like 2 or 3 passes that were perfect throws that he got his hand in there and broke them up. So I'm not throwing at their defense when they've got my 2 best guys covered the entire game. I've barely been able to find George Kittle the entire time because he's been swallowed up and spit out by this Chiefs defense.
Kittle was targeted 3 times in the game. 2 catches, 4 yards. Now, one was the first down on 4th down.
But the fact that your best, hypothetically, one of your top 3 targets doesn't get the ball at all because he can't get open, and your other 2 guys can't get the ball because they're being smothered on defense. What should you do in that case? You run the ball. I get it. Chris Jones is a great defensive tackle. He was exhausted going into that 3rd and 4th quarter.
He was.
So you keep running at him because, if I'm not mistaken, run defense hurts a lot more than pass does.
Yep.
Because you are trying to run through 2 linemen if you're Chris Jones. He was getting double teamed.
Yep.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't make any sense.
By the way, Jair Brown not only had the interception,
he had
11 tackles in the game. He was 2nd in tackles, 7 solo tackles.
And he saved if he wasn't there to stop Kelsey at the touchdown, and he hit him out of bounds and then hurt his shoulder, I think. It was.
And then he came back in,
but he looked like he had fought a battle going into that one.
He doesn't get him there. The game's actually over at that point.
Kelsey put his shoulder into him, and I kind of felt bad for Jair.
But how do you have 2 weeks to prepare? How do you? In fact, let's put it. Let's frame it differently here. How do you have 2 weeks to prepare for your opening playoff game? Okay, 2 weeks, not one. It's like the regular season over. You got 2 weeks because you're the number 1 seed, and not go through an overtime situational scrimmage.
So,
and I'm talking about. When I mean scrimmage, I mean situational walkthrough.
So I have a question on that.
With how do you not do that?
So before any bowl game, because I don't know any of this. I've never seen anything behind the scenes stuff.
Yep.
Before a bowl game, has Franklin or Joe Pa, whoever, gone through how the end of game works in terms of both the 2-minute drill and overtime, anything beyond regulation?
Every time.
And so
every time.
How do you not do that if you're Shanahan?
Joe always did. The 2-minute drill, and it was always done on Thursday. He always did it on Thursday. And Joe would do overtime. They do it in the preseason, and then a couple times as the season goes, as a refresher. Okay.
So what the Chiefs did,
right? As a refresher, right? James, does 2-minute drill at least twice a week. At least twice a week does 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
Right. Does 2-point conversions. Does 2 every day. It does 2 every day. Right. Different ones. Okay. And in the preseason, we'll make sure they've got a couple of overtime situations, and then they'll do a refresher on overtime as the season goes. So when they get ready for a bowl game, right, they're practicing situational football. 3rd and short, 3rd and long, 2nd and medium, 1st and 10, right? James will practice overtime, right? Which you can combine. By the way, you can combine it. Let's do red zone. Red zone overtime's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, because the ball's at the 25 in college. All right, this is a little bit different. You got to play the full, special teams actually plays a role in the NFL overtime. Okay? But they'll do red zone 25, which is the same as doing an overtime scrimmage. They're the same thing. Red zone, overtime, doesn't matter. Because you're not changing your play calling.
Yeah.
Right, at that particular point. They practice 4th downs. All right? So James is doing this all the time, all season long. Okay? Now, I realize that the overtime rule in the NFL in the regular season is different than the postseason, but you're the 49ers. Okay? There were 2 teams that had the opportunity to have 2 weeks before the playoffs began to go through every scenario, Baltimore and San Francisco. And based on what you're reading here, San Francisco didn't do it.
I was going to say, you'd think in a hypothetical world, you should, before the playoffs start, if you normally have overtime meetings in the season, you change that to the overtime playoff rules.
Right.
It's an easy change. Once a week, just discuss it. Quick, easy, done.
But again,
boom.
As the number 1 seed, like Kansas City had to play right away.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody else had to play right away except Baltimore and San Francisco. in the first week before okay, so now I'm 2 weeks out. I don't know my opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's even better. I don't know my opponent. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? I can focus on me.
Yeah.
So, do I give them a couple days off to rest? Yeah, when they come back, okay, guys, let's go through something now. Mm-hmm. Okay, we may be in an overtime game. And you take meetings and whatever and go through, this is how we're going to approach it. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to do, because each team is guaranteed to get the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to, kick off. No matter what we do, we're kicking off. I want to see what they do first to then determine what I'm doing. Every college coach knows this. Every college coach knows whether you take it at the 25-yard line and you kick off, you want the ball second because you want to know what you need to do. Do I need a field goal to win the game because we just stopped them? Do I need a touchdown to tie the game? Do I need a field goal to tie? Do I need a touchdown to tie? Oh, by the way, do I decide then, you know what, the heck with this? Yeah. Let's go for 2. Yeah. Let's win it now. Mm-hmm. Hey, there's all sorts of scenarios you can go through when you're going second. Oh, and by the way, by going second, if the other team scores first. Mm-hmm. Now, if they don't score first, now the decision what to do on 4th down is the same as it is during the game. But when the other team scores first, like San Francisco did yesterday, Andy Reid had no decisions on 4th down.
It was a 4-play. It was 4 plays every down.
Every single set was a 4-down set, no matter what. And they converted the one where Mahomes took off in the 4th and 1 and ran.
And he saved his legs until the end of that game. And in the 4th quarter and in overtime, he used his legs because it was known all season he's not running to save his legs and to make it so he doesn't get hurt. And then what do? They bust out the runs in that game. I think Dre Greenlaw would have stopped a bunch of them. I think that probably hurt.
Not having Greenlaw really hurt. There's no question about that.
Because he was flying around on defense that first quarter.
Maybe not having a 100%, but even having an 85% Deebo Samuel, sure, that hurt. No question. But again, I don't understand the decision-making. And maybe I'm a little more sensitive to it because every game that San Francisco plays, I keep hearing he's a genius. Mm-hmm. Over and over again. I'm like going, okay, well, all right, what? Because he puts motion to. He runs the same plays. He just window dresses them. Okay, that's fine. Have I ever seen window dressing in my lifetime? Over here in the back, yeah, I have. I mean, let's not make too big a deal out of it. I mean, they do a great job with it. But what did Kansas City do in the second half? What was their defensive change? They played man-to-man.
Mm-hmm. They locked down. That's what they did.
They played man-to-man defense. They didn't play zone or anything like that. When you're playing man-to-man, guess what? That means that sometimes you're going man-to-man and you're putting 7 in coverage, all right? With a spy, all right? Or I'm blitzing somebody. I'm playing cover 0 anyway, which is man-to-man.
And there was one particular play. I remember it. They didn't
do anything different. You watch them. They're playing man. McCaffrey goes out. They followed him.
And there was one, I believe it was the 3rd quarter or the 4th quarter. It was in the second half. And the Niners lined up on offense, and they motioned McCaffrey out. And McCaffrey had a linebacker on him. But Brock looked at it and said, I don't like the protection scheme. Instead of changing protection at the line, he had like 10 seconds left. Yeah, he called a timeout immediately. Right. And Romo and Nance were shouting on the screen, McCaffrey's got a linebacker on him. Like he's gonna dominate that linebacker in man-to-man. It's going to be a slaughter.
Penn State, Michigan, 2017, Beaver Stadium. They split Saquon Barkley out to the Penn State sideline, and they put a linebacker out on him. And Jack and I are like, there it is, right there. The two of us right away, almost in unison, said, there it is. And Trace put it right there. And that was the one that Saquon juggled and caught, but he beat him by 5 yards. He just kind of juggled it and all the dramatic effect he caught, and then caught it and scored. But they walked up to the line of scrimmage and went, son of a gun. Yeah. You're not serious, are you?
And that's, if I was Brock Purdy and I see my best player on someone who will not be able to guard him. It's like what Gronk was for Brady. Brady would say, I see Gronk on a guy a foot shorter than him and say, I'm just going to throw it to him. I don't care where he goes.
Not only my best player, but the guy's a terrific receiver.
And he's faster than pretty much anyone else, stronger than pretty much anyone else. Like, he is going to annihilate that guy. If he just runs a go route, if he just runs straight, it's over. If he runs a curl, whatever he does going forward, I'm throwing him the ball. I am taking a 2-step drop and just throwing it directly to him. I'm changing it really quickly. It was a tight end on the line, whoever it was, Kittle, whoever. I'm changing protection at the line, but I'm saying I am staring at McCaffrey and literally not looking anywhere else because there's nothing the defense can do at that point because they're in man. Right. They're not going to bite over because then someone else is going to be wide open.
I mean, after a while, there's no reading the thing. Okay? Except when you get to the line of scrimmage, okay, where are they blitzing from? Because when you're playing man, you can blitz people all over the place.
And Spagnuolo did real well with his blitzes last night. He dialed them up perfectly.
I mean, Bolton blitzed. Okay, McDuffie blitzed. I mean, they were coming from all angles, everywhere. Right? But you can do that because they're playing man, and Kansas City, their secondary is good enough to play man. And it makes a big difference.
It makes a difference,
but that was their big change on defense.
Yeah, that was it. And the change the Niners had on offense was not running the ball, which makes no sense. I still don't get it.
I mean, I don't get it because I'm winning. Okay. That's one. Now, I could see on the first one, you get the ball to 44. Man, I got a chance to go up 2 scores in this game. So I'm on board with him. I'm on board. But the next series, because you didn't score, the next series, I need to do some things here. One is I need to eat up some yards. My running game is winning. For the most part, Trent Williams is having a good day. I mean,
the first drive.
Okay, that's another one. Like Jason says, he's the greatest tackle in the history of the game. He's not Anthony Munoz. Okay? Sorry, right? Just for some perspective, Trent Williams is not Anthony Munoz.
But right now in this game, he's playing real well.
But he's playing a good game. He's had a couple of penalties, but for the most part, he's playing well. He had a holding penalty.
It was a holding back-to-back with a false start on the first drive. Yeah. That was it. After that, nothing.
That's nerves.
Yeah.
All right. They're struggling on the other side because Karlaftis is killing them. The way Bosa was killing whomever he was lined up on.
Yeah.
And I've been running the ball. I'm winning up front. I've got a running back that does a great job at taking advantage of blocks. Okay. Get him in there. Okay? See if you can get 5 or 6 yards on first down. Now everything's open up. I can do whatever I want. Second down, maybe he'll pop another one again. 5, 6 yards. Meanwhile, who's watching?
Mahomes. He is not touching the ball.
Not playing. Right? Because now I'm getting yards and clock. But they went 3 and out, 3 and out, and 3 and out. Not only did they not score, they also didn't eat up any clock in the process of doing it. They ate up no clock in doing it. And Mahomes was able to get back on the field. And it's not as if he's crushing the world at this point either. Because remember, it's 10-0, then it's 10-3, then it's 10-6, and then the mistake on the punt. Now look. Okay. Luter feels lower than life right now.
Yeah.
But he can't see the ball. Like, even if he said he didn't hear McLeod make the call, but even if he heard him make the call, where's he going? He's locked up with a Kansas City player. He can't move anyway.
And it's not like it hit his body. It hit his ankle.
It hit his ankle. It's a completely inadvertent play. Okay, there's nothing. He's locked up already on a block. So he can't get out of the way. And that's when I can't blame him on that play. Stuff like that happens. And then McLeod, to his credit, tried to cover it up. He just couldn't field it, and then Jalen Watson recovered. Yes, just so you know, he recovered. It was never mentioned on the broadcast that he's the one that recovered it, but he's the one that recovered it. I don't know how you not mention that he recovered it.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest plays of the game. Maybe they were trying to show more of the family tree. I don't get that stuff either. I don't need to know the Shanahan family tree. I just need to know what he's calling next here. I don't care if Gary Kubiak was one of the coaches.
Hey, Clint Kubiak, upcoming Saints coach.
Yeah, terrific, great.
Or offensive coordinator.
Really happy. How did he get that job? All right, so And then next play, and boy, Valdez-Scantling on the touchdown catch. He fought that thing. Like, hey, like going, hey, you should be like, oh, thank you.
Because he made what should have been a Super Bowl killing mistake, which was catch the ball for like 6 yards and then got spun around, runs backwards, and lost 4 yards.
Gives ground. Like, what do we?
And you could see the entire Chiefs were like, what are you doing? Just go down.
They're probably all standing there saying, this is the same garbage we saw all season. It's like
but what they're saying is we're just happy it wasn't Kadarius Toney because he would have probably dropped the ball. And the fact that Kadarius Toney, the player who the year prior had a punt return that got you down to like the 5 to help you win that game, was not playing at all because he was a straight up scratch. They were like, we're not playing him whatsoever. That's wild. It's still wild.
I couldn't believe it was a story. Everybody knew he wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
And nor he should have played. Now, let's get to the game-winning touchdown. What was the game-winning touchdown?
It was the same play they've run like 7 years straight. The exact same play.
The same play they beat Philadelphia on 3 times last year. The same play, just with Hardeman running it. It's the same play they beat Philadelphia on 3 times last year.
You motion the guy out wide in just behind, I think it was Kelsey, right behind him. And then as soon as he gets directly parallel to him, you snap the ball, and he turns right back around. And I feel bad for, I forget who it was for the 49ers, was at safety at the time. He just was caught in no man's land because at that time he's told to motion to the guy inside because he sees that guy going all the way in. He does his job, and Hardman is just wide open. And Hardman, by the way, started the season on the Jets, played 12 games, had 1 catch for 6 yards.
Well, he cracked me up. I'll say that I give him a lot of credit. When Jim Nantz asked him about the game when he plays,
I blacked out.
I blacked out.
And Mahomes afterwards said he ran to him celebrating and was like, yes. And Hardman was like, yeah, we scored. And Mahomes was like, no, we won the Super Bowl. He was like, oh. Because he just was not in his mind at that point. He was like, I caught a pass. Yeah. Oh, wait, we won what now? We did what? And then that's why he jumped around. He's like, oh my gosh.
So you're saying that we don't have to play anymore?
Yes.
We're done? We're done. Yes, we're done.
The Chiefs.
But again, when you have players saying they don't know what the rules are, okay, that tells me you're not working on something. I don't want to hear over and over again, which is being shoved down our throats left and right. He's a genius. He's a genius. He's a genius. He's a genius. Well, I'm still waiting for the genius to win. Okay, first of all, let's give credit where credit's due. He has coached a lot of big games that he has won because he's been able to get, as a coordinator and as a head coach, to 3 Super Bowls. And he's been a big reason why, through play calling and the execution of his players, as to why they got there. So he hasn't won this game, but he's won other big games to get there. So please, credit where credit's due.
Yes,
he can't win the big game. Look, he won a bunch of big games to get there. Okay. Right, the comeback they had, because they had been 0 for 30. They had 2 comebacks in a row. They kind of overcame that because he's always been a front runner. Here he is, a front runner in this game. And again, second time in a row against Kansas. See, the problem is the 3 Super Bowls, he's been the front runner each time, which is his MO, and hasn't closed. Right? But first of all, as soon as he made the decision, I'm like, what's he doing? I couldn't believe he made that decision. Now, maybe it's because, it's not as if I've never announced overtime games in my life. I've done a whole bunch of them, right? Including I did, Jack and I did the longest overtime bowl game ever, 3. No other bowl game, no other BCS bowl game, Orange, Sugar, Cotton, Fiesta, Peach, Rose Bowl, right? Sugar Bowl, never has gone 3 overtimes, right? So we did the longest one, filled with all sorts of bizarre twists, turns, and kicks. Okay. Okay. I was like, okay. All right. So we've done a lot of these. Right? So right away, it's just natural for us to even say in the broadcast right away, okay, here's the key right here. You need to go on defense first. Now I realize they're starting at the 25. But even in this situation, because both teams are guaranteed to get the ball, it's not like the regular It's not, it's not like it used to be where you scored first and it's a touchdown, it's over.
It is you score, it doesn't matter, they get the ball
Tim
unless
Tebow,
it's a defensive
Broncos,
touchdown.
Steelers. Tim Tebow, Broncos,
First play.
Steelers. 2 touchdown, yeah. Right. Still hurts, does it? Still stings.
Demarius Thomas running away.
Jerry Valeri still stings to this day. Right?
May I, real quick?
Yes.
So, in this game, if you're, let's say 2017 Penn State, if you're up in the game and you're playing really well, is there one person on that team you're giving the ball to and saying, here's the ball, just
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley. If you're Shanahan, who is the one player in your team you're saying, I don't care about anyone else, I'm giving him the ball?
Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey.
Now McCaffrey did handle the ball 30 times in the game.
Yeah.
He had 22 runs and he had 8 receptions. They targeted him 8 times. He caught all 8.
But again, second half, I love Brock Purdy. He's been great all season. I get that. But I am putting the ball in McCaffrey's hands and telling him, hey, you figure out how this is going to work. Again, whatever you want to do, we'll do.
But this is why I go to the running game. Starting now, look, the first possession I got, Jair gets the interception. You're at the 44. I got a chance to go for the jugular here because I can get up 2 scores on a day my defense is playing really well. Okay?
But even then,
So I'm fine with that. But it's the second and third possessions of the quarter where the field position's now different, right? And, and I go 3 and out and didn't run the ball once. And then I go 3 and out the next time and I ran the ball 1 time. What, because I got no gain, you don't run it again? Really?
And you know what, Steve, the second biggest,
one more thing. And my quarterback, after a really good start, is now 4 for his last 11. That's why I'm running the ball.
Yeah.
I've got the lead. My quarterback has been a little, not shaky, but is, they're covering things, and the passing game isn't humming. How about that? Right? And I got this guy.
Dude who's been cooking all night. And the second biggest point, and the moment in the game where I saw it happen and I was like, the Chiefs are winning this game, was Jake Moody's blocked PAT. As soon as that gets blocked, it is now a 3-point game. And it changes all the math. I see people blaming him for this game. No, you can't blame that dude. Like, yes, it got blocked. It was a low kick, but one of Butker's kicks was like mere millimeters from being blocked by multiple Niners. It happens, but as soon as that happened, 3-point game.
From 57, it's a long kick.
Yeah.
But Moody struggled with this all season. And again, let's go back to what I said at the beginning of the playoffs, because he struggled against Green Bay. I said, well, why is he kicking for you? Because you decided to save money.
It took him, 99th, I think, was where they took him in the draft?
Yeah, but Robbie Gould had been the kicker. How many postseason kicks has Robbie Gould missed in his career?
Not many.
Between the Bears and the 49ers.
Not many.
How about 0?
Yeah.
He has never missed between the Bears and the 49ers and Super Bowls. Kick for the Bears in the Super Bowl, kick for the Niners in the Super Bowl. Has literally missed no kicks in his career. 0.
Yeah.
And you decided to save money and went with a rookie kicker. Okay, well, as the season was going along, you're like he gave you moments where, like the 55-yarder, you're like, wow.
That was he was good from like 60.
And by the way, when they took the lead, right, on that bomb of a kick, not the 55-yarder, but when they took the lead in the fourth quarter, actually in overtime, right?
The overtime field goal.
The overtime field goal was a terrific kick.
It was 27 yards was that one. Right. The one in the second half was 53.
53-yard, the 53-yarder. Now, this is after he's missed the extra point. I mean, he just straight out
drilled
laces it. I mean, he just killed it. And it was great. But
as soon as that happens, if you are the Chiefs, at that moment in time, you say, we only need, at this point, to stay even. We need to stay field goal, and that's it. Because in that case, you're going for a touchdown if he makes that PAT. You're down 4. A field goal doesn't do you anything. You need a touchdown. But all of a sudden, you say, oh, we only need 3 points, and we have one of the 2 best kickers in the NFL on our team, a guy who can drill it from 70 yards in warm-ups. Sure. Like, he's not missed all postseason. He's I think missed one field goal the entire year. He's one again. Him and Justin Tucker are the two best kickers in the NFL.
Right, that's right.
If I have the option of saying we only have to get to the 40-yard line and give him the ball, that's okay. I can live with that. And that was the math the Chiefs had to do, was just we need to get across midfield and then we're in his range. So any play beyond this is fair game for us. All the pressure's off. We can run the ball. We can do some fun things. As long as we just hold the ball and don't fumble it and don't turn it over, That's all that matters. And that is exactly what they did. They said safe plays, kept it safe, and moved the ball downfield. And said at any point in time, if we need to, if all of a sudden something happens, if a fumble happens and we recover it, let's just run the ball and then kick a field goal. Because this dude is a safety net. It's like having a great goalkeeper in soccer. At any point in time, you have a safety net behind you.
Right.
And it feels great to have that. Because, again, you can get over midfield, and Bucker's going to drill it.
Especially, you're indoors.
You're indoors, no wind.
That's the big part of it. You're indoors.
I'd give him 65 inwards he's good from.
It's interesting that when I was talking to Alex Felkins, he was on that roll, and at Ford Field, he had that one field goal attempt, and he hit the upright. And I was talking to him at the Dome at Mercedes-Benz, so it was the Peach Bowl. And I said, "What do you think of this surface?" He said, "I love this surface." Now, Detroit has the Cadillac, right? Maybe we should say the Lexus of fields. There's three different types of turf fields. They've got they've poured a lot of money into it. But Alex was saying to me, because when Jack and I walked on it, we were like, I said, because Jack played on a green thing placed over concrete.
Yeah, concrete spray painted green.
Scrapes, bruises. The players of Jack's era were treated like garbage, to be honest with you. The stuff they put out there, they put chemicals on the field late in the year when it was cold. Like chemicals, right? It's on concrete, barely padded, the whole thing. Really, it's awful. Right? Now we're walking out there. He says, "Geez, Steve," he says, "if anybody slips on this," he says, that's the best field artificial turf field we've ever been on. Okay. So Alex then hits the field goal and it hits the upright. So I was talking to him at the Dome. I said, "What about kicking in here?" He says, "I love this." He says, "A little bit shorter." He says, "Detroit's too long." He says, "When I would kick," he said, "I'd swipe that turf. So you barely want to graze it to begin with." He says, "But you'd swipe it. It would kind of held my foot up a little bit." All right. Now, this is grass. Okay, they played on grass yesterday. And so from 70, darn right, because he's going to swing that foot. It's going to be, in all likelihood, now you can go low, but in all likelihood, it's going to be a clean strike.
Yeah, he hit that low 57-yarder. That ball did not get high at all. It was a straight line drive. And you could see, I think Nance on the call was like, "That's short, no." What? Right. He was just freaking out because he was like, "I don't know what I'm seeing right now," because Bucker hit the ball on a line and was good from probably 60.
Right.
Imagine he hits the ball up a little bit, like him or Justin Tucker could do. Ball.
But again, you're longer, so in all likelihood, you're going to kick a lower ball.
But even then, the fact that he hit that low ball and they said on the broadcast, the reason Jay Feely said, the reason he hit the ball so low is because the snap was terrible. The ball, it was snapped high. He got it down Townsend in time for him to just drill it straight. But if he gotten it more in time, that ball's good from 60. And if I'm the Chiefs and say I can, again, get over 50 and hands off, we can do everything safely. That is such a weight off your shoulders if you're Mahomes, because then you can let him cook and say, you just go do whatever you want to do. But now you don't have to force things. Just do safe things. Get the ball into, I don't know, one of the best tight end of all time's hands in the fourth quarter and overtime, which he did. And then Travis Kelce, I don't know, played really well.
Right. Yeah. What did you think of the CBS broadcast?
So I was watching on Paramount. That was
you watching?
I don't have.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
No,
that's
yeah.
why I am a major proponent of
Options.
of streaming and over the air. I mean, anybody that is trying to force you to do it one way, which the NFL did with the Peacock game, they got it all wrong. But go ahead.
So I watched on Paramount. I wanted to watch on Nickelodeon. I wanted to watch Nick broadcast because I love Noah Eagle personally. Syracuse guy. Was a mentor of mine my freshman year when he was a senior. Like, I've got an affinity for him.
I personally like Noah.
And he's an awesome dude. But I didn't get to watch it, but Paramount did have the CBS game. I know all year there was chatter of like some things like Romo hasn't been great. He didn't have a great game. I get the idea of you keep your broadcasters together and you keep the teams together, and whoever has the game gets their broadcast crew on. I would love to have seen, like, you put the best broadcast crew all year on the best game. I love Nance. I love Romo.
Well, first of all, Romo did a great job of saying they should be running the ball.
He was like, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And then the Niners played the cover zero. They had 5 guys like 10 yards back, and he's like, why are they doing that? Don't blitz. Don't do that.
I mean, that's what he should be doing. Right? And he did a bunch of stuff like that. And he talked about lane integrity. That's really good stuff. The production part of it, the stupid touchdown graphics got to go. I mean, come on. We're not 5 years old.
What, the fireworks going up and all those things?
Right.
It would look like the Nickelodeon broadcast is what it looked like.
Stop it, okay? It's like, there's not 5-year-olds watching it. They're watching Nickelodeon.
And apparently the Nickelodeon broadcast was great, which makes me really smile because I love the concept of Sandy Cheeks pops up and is given Dora the Explorer and is giving you facts on like what a false start is, what this, that, and the other is. That is awesome.
And that's a totally different audience, and that's great. You know, they did a lousy job of following punts. I mean, really, they did a lousy job of following punts. Like, what the heck is this? What are you guys doing? You know, they had a lot of replays, you know, which is fine.
There were multiple replays, or there were multiple times they were doing like segment things in the middle of the game, and they had to stop them midway through.
Well, that's what. In other words,
it's weird.
I mean, that, like, they were doing the thing on the Shanahan tree. I'm like going, I'm sitting there going, you got to be kidding me. I don't care what his tree is.
It was like Shanahan, Kubiak, McCaffrey.
Right, just show me the game. I don't care. Okay? I've said this 1,000 times. You do all that stuff in the pregame show. When the game starts, you do the game. Do the game. Right? That's the producer. Okay? That's not Nance. It's not. Nance has to do it. He has no choice. Okay? It's not his. Jim does not have a vote here. I mean, yeah, they could ask, hey, Jim, you want to do this here? No, I really don't. I'd rather do the game. All right? So he's being told what to do. And they misplace stuff like that. In the first half, you can't force that stuff in there. Okay, you can't, and like, you can't. You have so much information, right, that they give you before the game. You're going to use 2 to 3% of it. Use what applies. Right, use what applies. So, you know, a lot of people, oh, the production was great. Like, the touchdown graphics got to go. They did a lousy job of following punts. I give them credit on the replay on the fumble on the punt. You know, they hit the foot, which was well done. The hit by Conley on Richie James on the punt, but that was really well covered.
That was well covered, but also what a hit! Oh my god!
From several angles, it was well done. So there were certain things they did well, and there were other parts where I just didn't feel like they followed what was going on. And it was, I mean, that part was okay. But again, I I realize that it's a TV show to them. But at some point, what's happened with the Super Bowl is this. All this stuff was great to have in the early days of the Super Bowl because the Super Bowls were one blowout after another. 35-10, 33-16. Then, of course, the Jets won 16-7. But then, 27-10, Chiefs won. There was that, 24-3 Dallas over Miami. Like the games early in the Super Bowl were not great. They were not great. But then we starting with, I'd say, Super Bowl 10. Now, 11 and 12 weren't great. All right. But 10, 13 were really good. Right. 16 was really good. Came down to the last play. Then the others, but once you got to like Super Bowl 21 with the Giants, and then after Super Bowl 24.
Okay.
When the Broncos were blown out by the 49ers. Almost every game since then has been a really good game.
Yeah. From 2010 onwards, the 14 Super Bowls we've had from 2010, including the Saints year. From there onwards, there were only, I believe, 5 games that hit more than one score difference. And there was only one where it was more than 2 scores, which was the Seahawks defense, breaking Peyton Manning apart.
Yeah.
Outside of that, and the Bucks beating the Chiefs, the 31-9.
But you still had Mahomes in the game and kept thinking he could come back. All right.
Everything's been like razor close the entire time. You were like, there is a chance X team wins or Y team wins every single game.
All right. They keep doing these games as if they're blowouts. I'm talking about in the first half.
Yeah.
They gifted you 4.5 hours to do a pregame show. That's where you do it. Once the game starts, just do the game. The game is good enough. See, now that the thing is, the game has become good enough.
And speaking on good enough, to wrap us up here, we got a few minutes left. It was discussed post-game and has been brought up a lot. Firstly, before we get to my point, Taylor Swift was shown for a grand total of like 10 seconds on camera the entire game. So anyone saying she's going to be shown too often, no, she wasn't.
I don't care.
I know, but fans were saying like, "Oh my gosh, she's been shown too much." No, she was shown for maybe it was like a second now and again.
Look, I have no problem if she was shown a bunch of times. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
she's at the game supporting her boyfriend. That's fine.
Let her support him.
Right? We saw Purdy's father, right, in the stands. I mean, I'm never big on that stuff anyway.
No.
I'm never big on the family shots in the stands because I'll never forget Jim Phillips' son, who's currently the commissioner of the ACC. Right, the first time Northwestern made the NCAA tournament. I think they won their first game. So in the second round, they lost. It was hard. They showed Jim's son, who was just a kid at the time, crying.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Right? This is where TV's wrong. Okay? I don't need to see Jim's son crying. Okay? Guess what? Right? And they never identified it was Jim's son. Never identified it until later. It was like, who is that kid?
Yeah.
You think the athletic director's son wouldn't be upset at his age that his basketball team lost in their first ever NCAA tournament appearance, second round? I hate those shots. I've always hated that stuff. TV does stuff that's just like it's all about TV. It's not about actual people.
But
go ahead.
To the final point to wrap us up here in the last few minutes. Chiefs have now made the Super Bowl 4 of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And they are I think rolling is a kind term. They've won 3 of the last 4, 2 in a row. Travis Kelce said afterwards they're going for a 3-peat, all these things. We know that. They're going to try.
Right. I mean, Green Bay, 65 NFL title in the first 2 Super Bowls.
I'll say 3. One word, Dynasty question mark? Is this the start of...
I always feel like in that context, you always wait until it's over with. right, and say, you know what? For a short period of time, they were a dynasty. When Jack played for the Steelers, they won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, they did it 2 different ways because the rules in the middle of the run changed.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they put in all the pass rules, went from 14 games to 16 games, things like that. The Packers won 5 out of 7. Now, 2 are Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL pretends that like the championship game started with the first Super Bowl. Over here in the back, no. There's a long history. Like you don't have the Super Bowl today without what teams did before that.
And then the Patriots, of course.
The Patriots winning 6 times.
Went 10.
There was a 10-year period where they didn't win. They won 3, then went 10 years without winning 1.
Because my Saints won. That's why.
Right? And then won 3. The Dolphins had 3 straight Super Bowl appearances.
Bills, I believe, made 4 straight.
They made 4 straight. Now, the Bills lost all 4. The Dolphins went 2-1. And so you've had these mini ones that have happened along the way. This is always, to me, a question as to when it's over with. You can look back and go, wow. Now, with the idea that when you're in the moment, this is pretty special.
It is special.
Okay, the Warriors, in the moment, this is pretty special. Right? Okay, the Tampa Bay Lightning, in the moment, this is pretty special. All right? Same thing with this. This is a special run, and Brett's going to Brett Beach is going to. They're going to restructure Mahomes' contract because the way to keep it going is to restructure his contract.
Yeah.
They need to have flexibility to see if they can keep a Chris Jones, to see if they can, because they have. That's a very young defensive team outside of a couple of guys.
Outside of him, he was the only starter on the team, I believe, in their first Super Bowl. I believe.
Yes. But I think they average like 25 and a half years of age, something like that. Now, Karlaftis is really good. I loved him at Purdue. I was like, oh, man, this guy's a good player.
He's great. But McDuffie.
The word dynasty, to me, it's always something that properly should be put into context when it really does start to fade. Where you say, you know what? And you can at this particular time, instead of calling it a dynasty, you can realize when you've got it good.
You've got to run.
Kansas City's got it good. They play great. They've got the best player in the game, the one player in the game that I'd pay to see. Because you know what? To be honest with you, I know Brady's won 7. Montana was great. This is, but the difference is they were both surgical players, and I appreciated the precision with which they played. But this guy's exciting.
This is fun.
To watch.
This is just fun.
But because he'll do all sorts of things that they didn't do, like. That's an interesting arm angle.
Yeah.
He's going to take off and run.
Oh, look at that. 30 yards downfield in the overtime.
I'm taking off. It's 4th and 1. Think I'll run. Hey, great. Those are both called plays, right? But he'll take off and he'll run with the ball. You notice I didn't use the expression use his legs. Like, even when he's throwing the ball, he's using his legs. Over here in the back, I mean, it's like, let's stop trying to be clever here. It's like, he's running A gap and B gap. Oh, don't stop with the technical mumbo jumbo. I mean, okay, who are you trying to impress, me or your fellow broadcasters? Just tell the fans what they need to know.
Yeah, and we'll talk more sports tomorrow here on 7 Mountains Media Sports Talk with Mr. Steve Jones.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it